Shop the Sherwin-Williams Labor Day sale and get 35% off paints and stains August 22nd through September 4th. With prices starting at $31.84, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, Pascal and I always have that little routine. You sound way more chipper. She's like, hi. I'm like, oh boy, happiness is here. Well, welcome. This is Pascal. I was going to say Pascal's changed a lot, but unless you're watching the video, you wouldn't even get it. So this is my great friend, Gae Polisner, and she is an author and, like I said, a friend. We met many years ago. I guess we started out on Facebook, right?
I guess.
Yeah. Through Paul. What's his last name?
Through Paul Hankins?
Yeah. He was, I remember
an
now.
Educator.
Yes. He posted that he was meeting you. I think he was in Manhattan with students and he was meeting up with you. And I'm like, wow, she seems really cool. And I think I just reached out to you. Let's be friends. It was weird, but that's me. And it worked. I knew we would be good friends. Sometimes you can just tell, you know?
We are good friends.
We are.
For a long time.
Yeah. It has been a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'm a huge fan of this podcast. So I secretly wormed my way in.
I'm very happy that you're here. We were actually going to do an extra episode, but then Pascal had to do something. She couldn't make it. So I said, well, let's do an official episode, you know, and this is going to be great. So Pascal is off doing what she's doing. She's very secretive.
She's a CIA spy.
She might be. Wouldn't that be hysterical? Oh my God. Anyway, I'm really glad you're here. And I'm going to do I have this new little intro I do. And I say, and this is Life in Jest, a show where we subscribe to Chaucer's sage words in the Canterbury Tales. Many a true word hath been spoke in jest. I came up with that when we had a guest a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, I want to sound a little more, you know, a little more than engaging than just our usual laughter in the beginning. And I said, you know what? That's pretty good. I think we'll keep that.
I like it.
It kind of ties it in because sometimes I feel like, is this show really in jest? But if you look at it that way with Chaucer, it's true, you know? So, okay. So Gae has written many beautiful novels, but because this is a sad time of year of September 11th coming around again. So we're going to talk about books that move us in one way or another, in general, other books, but we're going to talk about her book, The Memory of Things first, because it's so appropriate to talk about right now. And it's to me, such an important book. And many people agree with me, and I'd love you guys to know it. But before we actually talk about the book, do you remember where you were when you found out what happened at the World Trade Center?
I remember exactly where I was, and partly because I talk about it so often because I go into classrooms.
Makes sense, yeah.
And stuff, but I think I would remember anyway. But it's kind of just an interesting question because it is already more than 20 years ago, which is
it's shocking.
Madness.
It's shocking, yeah.
And so when I go into schools to talk about 9/11, these kids weren't even close to alive.
Yeah.
When it happened. In fact, I went into a camp this week to do art and talk and do writing, and the kids weren't even alive during the pandemic, some of them. It's like amazing how fast time goes. So I do remember little kids. Yeah.
Wow.
5-year-olds don't
fun.
Remember
really
the lockdown. Yeah.
I can't even believe that was fun. When you just said that, I'm like, it can't have been 5 years ago, but it was. You're right. Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Time
flies whether you're having fun or not.
Yeah.
Not my quote, somebody else's. So I remember where I was, and I talk about where I was a lot of the time, so it stays very fresh. But I have 2 sons who are now 30 and 27, and the 30-year-old was in his school around the corner from here, and I had just dropped the 2-year-old off. Or 3-year-old, he was 3, and at his preschool program. And usually it was the kind of thing where all the moms dropped the kids off, and then we had our 3-hour window to get the groceries shopping done or to go to yoga or whatever, right? So it was kind of the kind of thing where normally you'd all wave to each other and say a quick hello, but everybody got in their cars and drove away.
Right.
And this day when I came out, everybody was standing by their cars. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And I remember somebody saying a plane flew into the Twin Tower. And that at that point, we were all thinking it was like a crazy accident.
That's me too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's what they were all talking about. And I was like, oh, okay, I got to get in my car and go home and do my things before I get back to get my kid. And I got in the car and I turned on the news to hear what was going on. And by the time I got home, the other plane had hit. And so so I turned around, I went back and got my 2-year-old I had just dropped off. And then I went to the elementary school and I took my other kid out because we didn't really know what was going to keep happening or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think everybody that listens to this knows I'm a huge Howard Stern fan, right? So I had actually gone to vote. It was some sort of election day.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But a smaller one. It wasn't like, president or anything. So it was at a school. I left the school. I got in my car and Howard Stern is talking to that girl from Baywatch.
Pamela Anderson?
Yes. Yeah. He was talking to her. She was like a regular on a show. And
she's huge now.
Huge again?
Yes.
Oh, because of, she's got a whole different agenda now. Yeah. Yeah. She's interesting. In the middle of the whole thing, all of a sudden, Howard goes, stop. A plane just flew into the World Trade Center. And I was like, that's not funny. I said it out loud. And he goes, I'm not kidding. He must have realized everybody was saying that. And so there was just like this. And I was almost home by then. And my ex-husband was, we were married at the time. And he was inside. It must have been before our store. We had a store that opened at 10 o'clock. So it must have been 9 something, right? When it happened?
Yes. Yeah.
So I came in, I guess we would have gone to work because we had kids. They're 5 years apart. And Casey was like in a preschool type of thing. And then Michael was in regular elementary school, similar to your kids. So the kids were there and I came in and I'm like, Tony, a plane just flew into the World Trade Center. How could that happen? How could they make that horrible mistake? Right. And it never occurred to me that anything on purpose. So we turned on the news and then we saw the second plane. And that was so devastating. I can't even tell you. My God, I wish I had never seen that.
Yep.
I wish I had never seen that. I wish I had never watched any of the news following it. Because it was just so horrible. But the immediate thing was, I still was like, how could 2 planes make a mistake? I'm crying. I remember. How could 2 planes? I'm so naive. I want to believe the best of things. You know what I'm saying? And I knew there had been an act of terrorism once they were ready. But still, I just couldn't conceive of it. But then I guess pretty soon the news said, everybody put it together. I don't remember. After that, everything's kind of just this whirl of emotion. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we got our kids right away because we went into such hysteria that we didn't want them to see, we figured that there might be danger, this and that. But I think above that, we just became so hysterical ourselves because it was just because we saw the visual, we were seeing stuff and it was so much worse than just hearing it. And I remember I had Howard Stern stayed on the air all day. And honestly, it was so comforting to listen to him. It was like going through this with a friend. Boy, I'm really crying here. And,
wow.
Because it really hit me. I mean, I can't stand. I mean, no one wants. Very few people want people to be in pain. I guess maybe the perpetrators did. I guess I don't know what happened to them. Where is their humanity? By the way, this is what I write about. I write about every book I write is the question is why do people hurt each other in one way or another? And I just can't imagine how you could raise a child to hate people so much that you want them to kill people. Like, I can't imagine that. So I guess this thing really hit me in my core. And that was hitting me worse than even any imminent fear of survival. But also, we're on an island. Like, where are we going to go? You kind of need a boat. And we have a dock, but we didn't have a boat.
We're going to swim.
I guess we could have. I guess thinking back, I'm like, maybe we should have called and tried to get a boat or something, or get people together. And, you could call up Freeport, get one of those big tour boats or whatever and come on over and pick everybody up. But we just weren't thinking clearly at all. You sounded like you were thinking clear enough to get your kids. What did you do with your kids after you got them?
I know so like you, I think I turned on the news first and quickly, I mean, we had never seen anything like what we saw that day. And it's so interesting because perhaps because I talk about it more often because of my book, my trauma has been dealt with more than your trauma has been from it, because we do all have, just like with the pandemic, we all do have really strong trauma reactions to stuff that happens to us like this, because I remember the newscasters were different than we had ever seen newscasters be, because they were crying. They were trying to get information and reporting information that they then had to retract.
Right.
We did not know if another plane was going to come down. So that's why I got my kids. And you could smell the smoke very quickly on Long Island, where we both are, but I'm out in Suffolk County, so I'm further away, and we could smell the smoke. You could hear fighter jets starting to go overhead. They had stopped domestic flights and from leaving or landing, except in specific places. And they had said that if a domestic flight entered airspace it wasn't supposed to enter, they had the right to shoot it down. It was like, people don't realize how very traumatic it was. So,
oh my God, especially being so close, right? You know,
right. Yeah, very, I think, different in New York than it was elsewhere, just because of the immediacy of being able to have the sensory reactions to it that other people in Kansas didn't have, where you were hearing the planes and stuff. But it was a gorgeous day out. It's something all of us who lived through that day talked about. It was a picture perfect Tuesday.
Yeah.
A lot of the covers, including the cover to my hardcover, are this blue color. And we think that part of the reason that the artist who did the covers, this is a guy named David Curtis, and it's my favorite of my book.
Yeah.
I really, really love it.
Yeah.
For those who are listening and can't see, the book is The Memory of Things, and the I in the word things are the Twin Towers. And when I saw that, I cried. That was like really emotional to see.
Really evocative. Yeah.
But it was this blue, perfect, cloudless day outside. And so I picked the kids up, and I didn't want to be inside, and I didn't want to be tempted to turn on the TV or the news or anything. So we played wiffle ball out on the front lawn. And I remember calling my husband and saying, like, come home. I want you to come home, because he was in Nassau County, closer to the city. And he called to tell me that he was going to come home, but he had to drive one of the lawyers at the firm he works for home, because his brother had been in one of the towers
that's awful.
At Cantor Fitzgerald, so he couldn't drive his car.
Oh my God.
So
that's awful.
It was really very immediate. I mean, hopefully we'll get on to happier things, but it is hard for kids this age. This book is for young adults. It's hard for them to understand what we've been through. And yet a lot of them grew up always hearing about it. They all know what 9/11 is, but they really couldn't understand the intensity of it and how it changed the way we view the safety of our country.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have a couple more things to say before we talk about the book. Giuliani was the mayor.
Yep.
He went down there. Okay. And most people would run, and he went down there. I have to say, it's hard to equate that man who was so that was amazing that he did that. It was amazing that he did that. And he said, we'll recover. We don't know how. And he was there. How could you equate that with the man that became what he is? Like, he must have some sort of mental illness or something. That's all I can say. But that day, Giuliani was a hero.
Yep.
I think of him now. I'm like, am I wrong? Because I can't picture the guy that I know now doing that, but it was him. It was him.
Didn't he also go on Saturday Night Live when they came back on the air? Because I remember that was a big deal to figure out when shows that were comedies should come back on the air. Because
I don't remember that.
Saturday Night Live, I think, skipped a couple of weeks. I don't know. I don't remember how long. I don't talk about that in the book. But there was no programming to be found except for news for a while, like the day of and the days after. It was just news. We didn't have as many channels, and it was news 24/7.
Absolutely.
And it was also the beginning of the news scrawl. that would say, but we didn't have that breaking news scroll on the news 24/7 like we have now.
I didn't realize that. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I like that.
No.
I never know where to look. I really don't watch the news. I guess it's just too upsetting. And it's like Howard Stern will tell me, and you came out and the people told you, if something happens, people will tell you. You will find out one way or another. So, but the other thing that always struck me was going into Manhattan in Penn Station, and they just had a wall of pictures of people that were missing.
Yes, and I talk about that. It was a lot of places. It was also, the story takes place primarily in Brooklyn Heights, that's where my main character, Kyle, lives. And on the Brooklyn Bridge in Brooklyn Bridge Park, there were just banners everywhere and candles and flowers and names and people, because people didn't know whether their loved ones had made it out of the buildings or not.
It's just awful. But all right, so tell us about the novel and what brought you to write, whatever order makes sense for you to say it.
Yeah, so I guess, the book is about a 17-year-old kid who's a senior at Stuyvesant High School, and he and his class, basically, as the story opens, he has been sent out of Stuyvesant, and when the story opens, he's on the Brooklyn Bridge, because what they did that day is, if you lived above 30th Street in Manhattan, they sent you home, but if you lived below that, they sent you across to Brooklyn, because they didn't want you downtown where there was smoke and toxins and everything. So Kyle lives in Brooklyn, so he's going across the Brooklyn Bridge when the story opens. As he's trying to get home, like so many people on the bridge, he tells the reader that his mom and sister are in California, where they've been for the end of a summer program that his sister is at, and they're supposed to be flying home that day. So he's coming across the bridge. He's like, oh my gosh, my mom and sister are supposed to be in a plane in the air right now. And his father is a New York City police detective who is with the Joint Terrorist Task Force. So he knows that his dad is on his way into the buildings or in the buildings. And so he goes home, and the only person at home with him is his Uncle Matt, who also is a New York City police officer. He is with a different, he's not Joint Terrorist Task Force. He's with the groups of officers who do things like talk people off the bridges if there's somebody who's going to jump. So he's a different kind of guy, his Uncle Matt. And Kyle is he's the person Kyle is closest with. But 6 months ago, his Uncle Kyle got into a catastrophic motorcycle accident, and he's in a wheelchair living with them. So that's the only person who's going to greet Kyle when he gets home, except that as he's getting to the Brooklyn side of the bridge, he comes across what he thinks at first is a giant bird, but turns out to be a girl who is covered in the smoke and ash of the Twin Towers, and she's wearing a ginormous pair of costume wings on her back. It's pretty clear she's out of it. He doesn't know what's going on with her, but he doesn't want her to stay on the bridge, and so he brings her home with him. And what unfolds in the book are the next 4 days trying to figure out who this girl is, why she's in the wings, what he's going to do with his Uncle Matt, who's in a wheelchair, whether his father's going to come home. I feel like David and I have been watching old episodes of Soap.
Oh, yeah.
You remember the TV show? I feel like I'm doing, will his father come home from...
Oh, gosh. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got a lot. So he's got a lot on his plate as the story opens. That's literally the opening. He's coming across the bridge. His Uncle Matt is there. He takes this girl who's in catatonic shock, has lost her memory, and doesn't know whether his father's going to come home. In the next 4 days unfold with a beautiful mix of humor and sadness and hopefulness. And I wrote the book literally to cope with my own grief about what had happened, because I found I wasn't getting over my fear and my upset. And I thought, well, what do I do? What do I do? And then I was like, well, why don't I do what I do whenever I'm trying to grapple with something difficult in life? Why don't I write about it? And so that's why I decided to write the book. And my editor was not interested in a quote 9/11 book.
Yeah, I can understand. But it's crazy. When we first were talking before we started recording, You said that you were worried because you didn't remember details of books that you loved. And I have that problem with memory of things because it's been a long time since I read it. But
Yes.
but as you were saying things, I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, obviously the girl I remember, with the wings, but it's coming back to life for me now. It's such a breathtaking story. I'm going to cry again.
Oh, no.
I'm going to just sea of tears. This is
Selene's never going to have me back.
I didn't realize how emotional. I mean, I am an emotional person. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't know I was going to spring into tears because it has been a long time. But like you said, you've been able to process it more, and I clearly have not. But your book, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I hope everybody reads this book because it's not even just 9/11. It's about life.
It's about life. It's about how we cope. There's some romance in it because they're teenagers, and I strongly believe that there's a difference between the teenage brain and the adult brain, and that they're able to sort of multitask with both their everyday things and tragedy. And
Oh yeah, isn't it interesting to write about the teenage brain? Because I also write young adult.
Yes, beautifully.
It's amazing, but I don't know. For some reason, I don't really have a problem. I think I'm just in arrested development. I don't think I've ever gone beyond that emotionally. But I love writing. You obviously love it because you do it a lot, and as do I. It's something about writing teenagers just makes me come alive even more.
I do. I love writing teens. I think that there's a lot of similarities between teens and adults, and I definitely think there are differences, and I like to try to get in there and figure out those differences. Like I said, in, so many of my books, I have grief going on. And what I remember from being a teen is that I literally had a friend whose father was dying and then died. And at the funeral, that friend was also worried about how she looked because the boy she liked was coming to the funeral. And I remember thinking to myself about that incident as an adult and thinking, like, as an adult, we wouldn't be able to worry about how we looked on that kind of day or whether the boy we liked was going to show up. But when you're a teen, your brain can kind of compartmentalize and do all those things. So I like to get into that stuff. I love teens for their honesty and their bluntness. And I am finding that as we enter this new sort of phase of the last 10, 15 years of life, that I don't know that I can write about teens as well as I used to. I'm kind of shying away from it because they view the world so differently now than we did. So, for example, there's a scene in The Memory of Things where Kyle and this girl have been together for several days, and he's really her protector, but he's also forming a crush on her. Yeah. And at one point, there's I think a really beautiful scene where they have a moment together, a very small moment together. And I've had teens ask me why he assaults her.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, because he doesn't specifically say, "Can I kiss you?"
Oh, wow.
Which is the newer etiquette, the new. And also because she has lost her memory, although her memory, it's questionable at this point in the story whether her memory has come back and she's just kind of acting like it hasn't. But because some of my readers view her as not being all there mentally because her memory is faulty at the moment because she's had this incident, they say she can't consent. But they're not having sex, they're kissing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an innocent kiss,
Yeah, and I have teens who say, Kyle's creeping on her or whatever.
Wow.
And I'm just starting to notice the difference in how we viewed things when we were younger.
So crazy.
Yeah.
But somehow we have, a convicted felon as the president.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know how to equate that. It's interesting. I wonder I haven't had teenagers for a while, so I don't really, I really haven't, it's been a long time since I had a new teen book come out, so I really haven't spoken to them. I don't think this kind of thing would come up at all. It would have with my older stuff, but certainly not. I have a young adult book coming out, but it would never raise this kind of an issue. I don't know how to respond to that.
And my response was, are you crazy? Like, it's so clear. Well, of course, I didn't say that.
Right, of course.
Because,
yeah, imagine.
Because that felt like my initial honest response. Yeah. I was like, wow, am I really the person to know what it feels like to be in a teen's body today? Because for me, writing teens was always so universal. I felt the same heartbreak now as they felt then. I feel the same longing to be liked and loved as they feel.
Sure.
But there are some bigger things that I think are changing now, how they view the world, social media, and maybe not for all of them either. It may depend on where you are in the country.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, you would think, because usually teenagers have this basic emotional makeup. I didn't think that would change. Maybe that's their questions because they're in school, and maybe they go, I mean, I really don't know. I never thought about that. Wow, that's something to consider. I was about to write the third book, actually, my trilogy, my Melt trilogy. And I think we're all good because the girl just came out of a coma, so she's not going to be upset.
You're safe there. But so I've been having a lot of mixed feelings about writing for teens. I'm in the middle of a manuscript, and I think if I finish that manuscript, that will probably be for me, my last IA manuscript. Yeah.
Well, you've brought up some interesting things that I never thought about. Wow. Okay. Well, my final word is read her book, please, because it's stunning. And all her work is stunning. And by the way, to me, your saddest book is The Summer of Letting Go.
I love The Summer of Letting Go, though.
It just freaking kills me. It kills me.
But it's hopeful. I will say that even Jack Kerouac is Dead to Me, which is my darkest, like upper YA, probably as much an adult book as it is a teen book. It's pretty dark. Yeah. But I always try to leave the reader with a glimmer of hope, because even now in the country we're living in the world we're living in, I don't know if you listen to Heather Cox Richardson, but I was listening to a little snippet she put up on social media today. Shout out to her, because she's doing the work of angels or whatever, as they say. But, she was talking about having hope in these dark times. And I mean, that's what gets us out of bed in the morning.
Well,
we need hope.
You're talking to the wrong person. I don't really have hope anymore at all. Because once you've lost a child, it's kind of like over, and I will say, I look forward to death. So there's that. I'm sorry. I'm being completely down here, but.
No, that's okay.
I'm not going to kill myself or anything. This is why I'm really immersing myself in work. Like the podcast. I do these things. I make sure I do them because it gives me purpose. I have to, and people tell me how much they love it, right? So I feel like I have to be of service to people and myself. I have to be a purposeful person. Otherwise, that's it. Like I had a brain tumor and only found out because I fell and I got really messed up. I'm still messed up from it. And they did an MRI, and that's the only reason they discovered the brain tumor. And it was on my pituitary gland, and I was going to go blind if they didn't find it. Now I said, well, that is it. I would have checked that. I would have been over. That would have. Everybody's like, oh, you could write with I'm sure you can. But my answer is I do not have enough will to live that I would survive that. So it's hard for me. I don't know how I can hope for the future when everything is being destroyed little by little, and also people have lost their gumption to even question things when there's clear evidence to it, just because they don't want to look bad, because there's clear answers of things we can do that we're not doing. And that makes me crazy. So on one hand, if you see me on Facebook or just now, even I sound like really motivated and this and that, and I'm not going to say I'm not. Because I compartmentalize, like we were talking about, but my heart is devastated, and the act of writing, it's not what it was to me anymore. It's just, I'm so broken. Writing used to be the thing for me, just nirvana, and now it's really not. And so I'm actually doing The Artist's Way, the Artist's Way, Julia Cameron. I'm actually doing it now. I had read parts of it, but I'd never actually done it. I really didn't need to. Because when I discovered it, I was already writing. I didn't really need that stuff, right? But now she's calling it a book, you're a writer in recovery, like it's a recovery program. I'm like, I am because although I'm doing it, like I have a book that's just coming out, and then I have another one coming out in February, and then I have probably
Tell
two in
us about
February.
them. Tell us about those books that are coming out quickly.
I will really
Because
quickly.
you don't ever toot your own horn.
Well, I just want to say that I started doing the morning pages because she says to do them every day. And it's just devastating. I wrote morning pages, and then I wrote these should be called the morning pages, MOURNING. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to make myself crazy, but I'm doing it. And I'm in recovery I am writing, but I want to really get back my love for that. But I do feel kind of guilty if I feel happy because but I know, but on the other hand, I know he doesn't want me to be miserable. I mean, I communicate with him, but anyway, so I'm working through it. I think
it's so important. Do you ever hear from your listeners? I think it's so important to talk about this. And I think it's so beautiful how honest you are. And I know, because you and I are writers and we have a little bit of a public persona, nothing crazy, but we have more Facebook friends than maybe the average person might have who hasn't written a couple of novels that are out there. And because we have that following, I'm also exposed to more people than I would be, all of us on social media exposed to more people than I would be exposed to. And we know quite a few people who have lost children.
Absolutely.
In the last several years. And as you know, I have a child who struggles with anxiety and depression mightily. And I think it's so important to talk about this stuff. What a great gift to give your readers, even though it's also incredibly sad, because it is like, where do you find hope in those dark times? And I think it's so interesting because you are so productive as compared to me. You've written and you're doing this podcast.
Like I am, but I'm always crying. What am I doing?
Well, of course, but of course you are. I don't even, and I think we all think this. I don't know how I'd get out of bed in the morning if I lost one of my kids.
It is. Well, I didn't for a while. I mean, in the very beginning, you have to, for the darkest reasons. I mean, to have a funeral for your child is the worst. I mean, you can't even. It's almost like you've been like half euthanized. I was going to say, because you're half. You're not even. You've lost. You're like, and you're wandering around like a zombie, and I don't even know. Honestly, I don't. You were there. I gave some speech, and I have no idea what I even said. It was crazy. I was reciting Macbeth. I know. I don't know. I don't know, but that was a weird. You can't even think. So I think they should have a funeral or a memorial, maybe 6 months later, where you can at least think. The whole thing was insane. But I don't know. I do communicate with him. I sleep. I have these sticks. I communicate with him with these rods. And he look, watch. See how he hugs me? He hugs. I know you guys. Well, maybe that'll be a clip, but he hugs me. He does that. I don't do it. And if I didn't have this, I would die. I just would. I sleep with these now with them hugging me. It's crazy, but I can't. I just, in a way, the grief gets worse instead of better. It's just a different. I think because that initial anesthesia wears off, and you're just left with this hole, where your heart was, and so. But I am writing a book with him, and it's hard. We moved to LA for a year. We drove an RV across the country, and so
Selene and I are Selene and I are such good friends that when she was driving with Casey cross country and then living in LA for a while, I came out to see my son in LA, and we even got together in LA.
I will say that Casey wished he had come after that. I felt bad because he's like, he said, why didn't I come? He wanted to meet your son. And I'm like, so see, this is my problem. All I think about is the sad things. I can't think about the happy stuff. I think this is partly just me. I've always been, did you ever read Eat, Pray, Love?
I of course know it, but I did not read it.
Well, she said that, it's all about her, having this whole life change thing and this and that. And she said the psychiatrist once told her, you have a tendency towards the melancholy. Basically, there's nothing you can do about it, right? And that's kind of me. If there's a sad way to look at something, I will find that way. And I'm trying to change it now. I really need to change it more than ever. I had managed somewhat, but of course this, so I'm working again. I'm doing a thing called EFT, emotional freedom technique with tapping. That really helped me earlier in my life. So now I'm using it again. and doing the morning pages. But all that to say,
but you know what's interesting, Selene? I feel like you have told me multiple happy stories about Casey. So I think
it's true.
You're also hard on yourself.
I am. I've been, you know what I've noticed lately? Funny you say that. I've been so much harder on myself than that. I used to be very, very hard on myself. And then I had done the tapping and I really became, everybody's like, oh, you're much less self-deprecating. But now I've gone back to being that way. So really I have to do the tapping again to get rid of it again. I really believe in that because if anybody has anything they want to fix about, a self-improvement thing they want to do for themselves, check out the emotional freedom technique, or just look up tapping. There's a lot of books, there's videos you can do. Let me tell you, is amazing. I'm just getting back to it. And you can feel the vibrations of the energy. It's stunning. So I highly recommend that. But so I'm going to write the book, but it's taken me a while. And I've got an unfinished business.
Is it about Casey or is it about?
We're writing it together about our last year. It's called Our Last Year. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's beautiful.
It's all free verse poems. So, which is funny because, I guess it's funny. It's funny. But I have a book of free verse poems coming out in February. That is the saddest nonfiction book I ever wrote. It is so painful. It's about this woman called Henrietta Wood. Doesn't it sound like a book you want to read? It's so painful. But it's about a woman named Henrietta Wood she has a happy ending, but it doesn't make up for all the tragedy she had in her life. Nothing ever could. But she wound up getting the most reparations for being enslaved ever to this date. Okay. Which wasn't a hell of a lot, but it was enough money to send her son to law school. So thankfully she did have that. And you know what? She got to be free with her son, and she got to see her grandchildren born free. So thankfully, she had this beautiful end to her life. But her life was so tragic because she was born enslaved. She was born they lived on the Ohio River. The thing about the story, it's all free verse, and it's all about the river being on, like the river running through, and the arbitrariness of being born on the wrong side of it, right? If she had been born on the other side, she would have been free. And her enslaver actually owned a ferry that went back and forth. But of course, she could never get on that. So she's watching people go to freedom back and forth. And it was so hard. That was my pandemic book. I might have been writing other things, but that was the main book I wrote during the pandemic. So imagine me sitting all by myself, and just writing the saddest book. And it was so crazy how I even found out about her. It was pure luck, really. Literally, I was like, well, I don't have anything to write right now. What should I write? I Googled little known American history or something like that. And it came up only because a guy had written an adult book about her, which actually won the Pulitzer Prize. And stunning book. My book is called Twice Enslaved, Liberty and Justice for Henrietta Wood. Because what happened was she finally was freed by a miracle after much torture. And then 5 years later, she was tricked to cross the river again and was re-enslaved illegally. Because they don't care about your freedom papers when you're over there. You know what I mean? It was.
What years was this?
Well, it was, you got me, kid. I'm really bad with dates. It ends on, she is ultimately liberated on Juneteenth. But the second time. So,
and when did she die?
Oh, she had a long period. Like, she watched her son go through law school. She had grandkids. So she had a good, at least 20 years before
Are the grandkids
died.
Still alive now?
I don't think the grandkids are alive, but she definitely has family out there that didn't even, but somehow I know that after the story came out about her, some people didn't even know the whole thing, maybe because she was back a few generations and no one really talked about it. But it's just, talk about writing pain. Okay. To know that you're putting someone in a carriage, she's like, la, 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 she's being tricked. This landlady was getting paid to do it. The landlady was supposed to be paying her for cleaning, never did. So she didn't have to pay her. And so she got money. She decides to be part of this plan to kidnap her, to put her in that carriage and take her. I felt like I was kidnapping her. I was tricking her. And it took me like probably a solid week just to write a few lines to get her across that river again. It was just horrible. Horrible. And when she found out, oh my God, it's just so sad. And they take her to this boarding house and she's overlooking the river again from the wrong side. Oh my God. it's gut wrenching. It took me so long to write. I guess poetry does take long anyway, because it's the essence. The poetry works so well with this because it's when something's so devastating, poetry just works. That's the best time for poetry. It's just like boom, and just the little details, just the little things. I knew all this stuff because she had been interviewed a couple of different times in the newspaper. That's the only reason I knew these details. So it was amazing gift. But the other gift was that this man wrote this book, and the first part that was a gift was that it was popular, so it came up in the search. Because before his book came out, nothing would have ever come up.
Do you remember the title of the adult book?
Yes.
Until I asked.
Let's see. Hold on. Oh, it's a sweet taste of liberty, because she said that she had her sweet taste of liberty for 5 years before, so it's a quote from her. So
wait, did she never? So what age group is your book for?
It's middle grade.
So how did you do that? How did you not make it too hard for,
I think,
a middle grader?
Well, middle grade books could be real rough anyway. Honestly, some of the toughest books, the subject wise, I've ever read have been middle grade. Really, really, really hard. Beautiful books, beautiful. Some of the most beautiful books I've ever read are middle grade. So I just wrote it from the heart and on instinct. That's all I can say.
But it's a funny question that I asked anyway, because one of the things that the multiple editors I shopped the memory of things to until I finally found an editor who wanted to take it is they were like, kids don't want to read about this and it's too dark to read about. And I was like, first of all, it's secondhand for the kids. Right. It's dark for you to read about because you were there.
Yeah, I don't find it at all.
For them,
that
it's
way.
just story. Yeah. So probably I'm asking a question I know the answer to when I think about it.
I'm really fortunate to have an editor that doesn't care about, she just looks at the story and says, this has to be told. I work really well with her, Carolyn Yoder. She published my first book, and that was not a question. It was just like, let's do this. I wish everybody could have a great editor like her that just gets to the heart of things. Really amazing. She gave me my career and taught me so much because I met her through Highlights. Highlights Foundation. They used to have this thing called Chautauqua, and I got a scholarship the first year, and I met her. She was my reader. And, it was just like, wow. They say when the time is right, the teacher will come, or whatever that thing is, right? And it was perfect because she is an amazing teacher, but she's also like a taskmaster, right? And I would not have been ready for what she was throwing at me earlier when, we all try to get published and this and that, but I wasn't ready for what ultimately would lead me to get published, to really dig deep into the stuff like she taught me. I wouldn't have been ready earlier. So it was the perfect time to meet her. And we're really great friends. She really was one of the biggest influences in my life. Really amazing person. So I love you, Carolyn.
Shout out.
Shout out to Carolyn.
Mamá, papá, mi cuerpo crece a un ritmo alarmante y la ropa que me compren ahora me quedará muy pequeña muy pronto. Pero su billetera no tiene que sufrir por la moda con los precios bajos de la vuelta a clases de Amazon. Amazon, gasta menos, sonríe más.
Lowe's knows that no matter your paint project, saving is at the top of your list. That's why when you shop today, you can buy one, get one free. Select Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. One coat coverage interior paints via rebate. Shop these deals in-store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Offer valid 8/21 through 9/3.
But anyway, so
we love those shout outs.
Yeah.
I have to tell you on a happier note, we ended up talking, we thought we were going to talk books. We ended up talking grief, which I think, is an important thing to talk about. But for those of you who regularly listen to Life in Jest like I do, the most exciting thing is when I'm driving in my car and all of a sudden Selene talking about me, which you've done a couple of times.
It's true.
And I can tell you at least two of them. One, you were talking about marriage and relationships, and you talked about me having a great marriage, and I, like everyone else, have a marriage that has taken work.
I think they all do, I'm sure. Yeah.
They all do, but I'm lucky to be married to a great guy. And the other one that I remember is I was shouting at you when you guys were trying to sort out whether it was Beretta or
Macmillan and
McMillan, and I'm like shouting. I did it again the other day. I can't remember what it
really?
was, but
That's
yeah,
funny.
Pascal was trying to remember something. Now I don't remember, and I was like answering it. I always want to text you, but
That's so funny.
But yeah, those shout outs when you're driving the car and you're listening to a podcast and suddenly you get a shout out, it's like, ooh, look, that's really cool. So hopefully your editor will appreciate the little shout out.
Yeah, I know she will. I don't know if she listens though. She listens to I do this other podcast, which has been on a hiatus. I have to go back to it. It's called The Heartfelt of History. And so that's her jam, obviously,
right.
But maybe she will. But anyway, so that's a heavy book, but I'm so proud of that book. And I can't even believe I wrote it. You look at something like, did I really write this? Do you ever look at your stuff and be like, whoa?
I do that with every single one of my books. I have no idea how I wrote one book, let alone 7 books, let alone 20 manuscripts. Because, I have a lot of unpublished stuff.
Do you have that many other manuscripts?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
In various forms of complete, like not polished, but, well into the manuscript, and probably at least 10 of them that didn't get published or see the light of day.
Well, wow. Well, I mean, the self-publishing thing is really, I'll admit it. I have a book coming out. The book that I'm coming out now, I'm doing myself because why not?
Right,
I had this thing, and it's about, I write about such different things. It's history, but it's actually middle grader and up. And it's a scripted historical fiction. I don't know if anybody remembers the book Monster, but the kid in the book is writing a script of a
that
murder
Walter
trial.
Dean Myers?
Yeah. So it's that kind of a thing. And it's about Benjamin Talmadge, who is my revolutionary crush. And he was the man who started the Culper spy ring. Really, and he's the guy who figured out Benedict Arnold was a traitor. He was one of Washington's right-hand men. And it's just an amazing story. He wrote a memoir, so it's from his memoir. And Benjamin Talmadge was the subject of my first book, By the Sword. And it's about, as we record, it's the anniversary of the Battle of Long Island. And Talmadge, my book is about his experience there, about how he doesn't want to kill anybody. He suddenly realizes he has to look someone in the eye and kill them. And this all came from his memoir. And then he realizes he left his horse behind, and he gets permission to go back and save his horse. Amazing story. So all this is in this new book, Freedom's Cost, that's coming out. But it's just longer and tells the whole story of Talmadge. And it's really, what do you have to sacrifice in order to be free? And you don't even realize he wishes for vengeance for a loss early on. But then when he gets it devastates him even further. It's just complete annihilation. I write such uplifting things, but it's a great story because we have to think about these things: vengeance, or are we willing to fight for a certain thing? Or there's a million in a war. It's funny because I'm a pacifist, basically, but in a war, it's interesting to write about people because there's no time to put on any airs. So you're really getting the real person. So as a writer, that is fascinating to me. I love to look at people with the masks off. That's what I it's just when it comes to nonfiction, because when it's fiction, I know what their mask is. So it's different. Right. But when you're exploring real people, it's endlessly fascinating. And so I'll tell you about the third book, which it was a miracle, finally got published. It's getting published. Well, I think I told you about this, but it's being published by a small press called the Wild Rose Press. I discovered it when I teach writing, and I was looking for publishers in one of those guides for people in my class, trying to give them advice. And I looked at it, and this book, I wrote it when 50 Shades of Grey was really big, okay? And I'm like, people love this crap because it was very poorly written, okay? Very, very poorly written. It was fan fiction of Twilight, which was garbage, right? So you got garbage made out of garbage. And I'm like, I can't believe what is going on here. And it was weird because there are a lot of other books with sex, but for some reason, this particular book hit, right? So I said, I'm going to write a literary 50 Shades of Grey. So that's what I did. And I couldn't get it published. I'm like, why? Everybody said it. They loved it. Everybody fell in love with it. People say they love something, but then they don't want it. That has happened to me many times.
Well, you know the answer to why. The answer is because they're looking for whatever reason at marketing, at other books they've taken on like that.
It's like 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, but well done. Well, you don't want one that's well written. I mean, look, I'm tooting my horn here, but I know it's well written. I worked damn hard on that book. We worked so hard, and I've had it edited. It's before I even submitted it, I had it edited. I had a private editor before I submitted it. So I submitted it to the Wild Rose Press because they said because it's women's fiction, because it's definitely not romance, because the woman is coming of age through the sexuality, all the things that are happening. She's trying to live in a polyamorous world when she's not polyamorous. She's just heartbreakingly monogamous, and it's killing her basically because she's fallen in love with a really broken man. So, and she's a mother, and she's divorced, and she's 41. I will say one other thing. Writing sex is the hardest thing to write. Mm-hmm. It's just because how many different ways can you describe it? Like, it's silly, but I did it, and but it had to escalate kind of every time. It had to have its, at least for her, it was transformative and not just sex, because otherwise I definitely wouldn't have been able to write it that many times. But so they were looking for women's fiction with erotic elements. I'm like, that is my book. So I'm like, I can do this. But then the editor was like, oh, I love this and that and that. But then she really devastated me with like, I'm not taking this right now because, and there was like a litany of things wrong. I'm like, oh my God. But I'm like, I'm going to do this. And so I set out to do it. And it took me forever because along the way I lost my son. And then it took me probably a year before I could pick it up again after that, But she said, take my time. So I wrote her back like, I took my time. It's like 3 years later, but not that long. Well, maybe it might have been at least 2 years. And she fell in love with it, and she bought it. And she said, we just went through editing, the track changes and all that. And so she said a few things like, there's nothing major, luckily. But then she said, at the end, I was crying and falling in love with this manuscript all over again. And I was like, oh my God, it's made me so happy.
That is so,
yeah.
If you knew how hard we worked, you'd know how good that is when we finally hear.
Yeah. And so it's called Love the Ones You're With instead of Love the One You're With. A friend of mine said that as a joke. I made a friend, we're still friends, at a writing conference. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like my title. I don't remember what it was. She goes, Love the Ones You're With. I'm like, that's great. She goes, I was just kidding. I'm like, no, that works. And they kept the title. Sometimes the publishers want to change it, but they kept it. And I call it now 50 Shades of Grey meets Eat, Pray, Love. So
love it.
Yeah. So
love it. And when does that come out?
That comes out, it might be around the same time as Henrietta, but it's going to be under a pseudonym, which I can't even recall what it is. But I'm admitting, obviously I'm being public about it. Kids, I don't think would ever get it accidentally, but I don't want any parents to be like, I just don't want that. So I'm not ashamed of it. I think it's a beautiful book, but I want to have that line of a pseudonym,
That makes sense.
Yeah. I thought about it's so much to consider with this stuff. So I'm on Book Talk, making friends with all the sexy book talkers, so it's book. That's a whole other thing, TikTok. But how long have we talked? It's been has it been?
Yeah, it's an hour. I was we might have to do a two-parter.
Well, let's do, you know what? Let's do it again. If you don't mind, why don't we get together again and we set out, we were going to talk about books. We'll do it next time. Do you mind coming back?
We talked about books. We just talked about our books and not other people's books.
It's true. But they're good books with what we talked about. But well, once you start me, I just can't stop.
I think it's good. I think we, I think it's important. I think that I just want to take it around to hope a little bit, because I think that you're amazing and that you don't realize how strong and tough you are and how many other people you have inspired by all the things that you continue to do despite so many hardships you've had, kind of one after the other after the other.
I mean, is it a little ridiculous?
It's a little ridiculous. Yeah. It's really challenging.
And well, I have a friend who's I have several psychic friends, strangely enough. And one of them said, wow, you must be a spiritual badass for all this to happen to you. Apparently you have to make your way up and you get rewarded by more bad things happening. It's really lovely. But, it's just
and
ridiculous.
I still like if you're a person who follows you or, is friends with you in various places as I am, you still have the things that bring you sort of peace, if not full on joy, like the water and the birds and the raccoons that come to your porch in the winter that you feed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm always watching like, Selene's got a little video and but I think it is like, I think that's actually what a lot of my books are about, which is that the way we tackle grief is not necessarily with the big things. It's by just holding on to some of the little beautiful things in our world. And
it's true.
Thank goodness, no matter what goes on, there are plenty of those beautiful things, go for a walk at the beach and go for a hike in the woods, or, some pretty cliche things that are gorgeous.
I think I like the most cliched thing of all. I love a sunset. I just love it.
Right?
The colors, because they're constantly shifting. The way you just want to capture that moment, but you can't hold on to it, right? And even when I try to film it, it never comes out as good as actually seeing it. And it's just such a miracle that it's even happening, right? That thing I'm doing, Artist's Way, you're supposed to have a date, like an artist date with your artist self once a week. So I think I'll just go on my dock with a glass of wine and watch the sunset. To me, that is being creative. I get inspired. So there are a lot of beautiful things, and I do appreciate them for sure.
I see you appreciating them, and that's, I think, all you can do. I mean, I think that your grief from probably the biggest loss there is, on top of multiple other losses, to think that grief is going to go away, and I know you don't, but to like somehow berate yourself that it doesn't go away.
I think I'm berating myself because I know logically none of this is my fault, but as all of us are primal animals, and irrationality is really what rules us, no matter how we try to fight that, so I have to work on that more. I know, but I can work on being kinder to myself, but I know I'm irrational. As a matter of fact, I always say there's a fine line between a lunatic and a novelist, right? I think we're the most irrational because we have to be, because you have to be irrational to be creative as well. So I think everyone is, but we might be the most. So I don't have the answers to any of this stuff. It's all very interesting. I don't know, but I just want to keep creating, and I want to keep having discussions with friends. I love talking to you. I definitely am an introvert, even though I don't seem that way. It's like I can turn into an extrovert for this conversation. And when I talk about things I love, I can suddenly become an extrovert, but deep down I'm an introvert,
Same.
But I need my people still. Like I need to have a conversation with my friends. Like it means the world to me to talk to you, and this is basically the same conversation we'd have.
Yeah, we are. Welcome to our living room, because this is.
But I need people, even though I am an introvert, and that's, the pandemic was really rough. It was so rough, but I get by. I don't know what's going to come next, but I just want to be able to love the process of writing. I can still write, I'm doing it, don't worry. I have a new contract coming. I'm going to do it. I promise. I'm superstitious, so I won't talk about that at all, but it's amazing. So excited. But the process of doing it is not giving me that joy that I'm used to. And I really want that back. Come on, so I'm doing the writer's way. I like being in recovery for writers. Like, that's kind of cool, like, is it?
Yeah, you're inspiring me. I used to have that book in my bathroom cabinet for years, like 20 years ago. And now you're inspiring me to want to go get that book again and maybe do it.
You should do because the morning pages thing is actually good. It's like, she's like, it's non-negotiable, because I'm arguing. Of course, I was listening to audio. I can't just listen to the audio book because it's a workbook. But I started out with that. I got it out of the library. You can get audio books from the library. It's pretty cool. But this is a new discovery, folks. I really have just recently discovered audio books. Like, I mean, I knew they existed, but they're pretty good. But not for this. You really need the book itself. But she's like, it's not negotiable, and it's great because you write it before you do anything else. I like it because it's giving me a firm task, because I can be, when I wake up, my head's all filled with all kinds of whatever. And she's just saying, throw whatever it is on the page. It's not like you have to write anything good. It's not like,
Right.
it's to drain out your brain from all the crap that you wake up with,
And we know this, but I also think that when you become a quote professional writer, some of that joy gets sucked out of you anyway too, because you're writing in a different way. You're writing in that way of, is someone going to buy this book? Is someone going to take on this book? Is it going to connect with readers? When you first write, you're writing to pour stuff out of you. So I think some of that gets in the way anyway, but I'm going to try it.
I do. I still write that way, but then I do force myself to edit it heavily. You're right, because you want it to sell. It's true.
Right.
You should try it, and we can compare notes on it. Like, so far, I did the pages today, and it's good because I did start writing about stuff other than just grief. Like, it was weird, but it's just a stream of consciousness. She says, don't read them again, put them in a folder. So I did. I feel good. I feel like I'm doing something. Everyone probably knows that I was addicted to all these murder shows like Dateline and all these things. I'm not doing that anymore. I feel like it was Misery Loves Company. I just want it, and so now the spell has broken. I don't need it anymore. And now I'm listening to like entrepreneurial, because I'm exploring the self-publishing besides being traditionally published. I'm exploring how those people, there's an amazing podcast called, what's it called? The Creative Pen. It's by a woman named Joanna Penn, who is an indie writer, publisher. Fascinating. You don't even have to be an indie writer. You're learning about creative process and marketing stuff that works no matter whether you're indie, because I'm certainly going to use it for my traditional stuff as well. So I'm being very proactive and thinking about how to flourish. So I think I'm really making headway. I really do. But I'm battling those voices inside, so that's where the tapping's coming in. So I am doing it all. And I'm very proud of myself I can't believe I just snapped out of those murder things. Like, I just snapped out of them. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's good. I want to snap out of the mindless scrolling and the time I waste still on social media. And I want to get back to reading paper books, because I've been doing audiobooks almost exclusively for the past 2 years.
Wow.
And
that's because you're doing it while you're working on your art, right? Is that why?
Or when I'm driving, but it's actually just because my eyes are old. I need to find the right glasses. If I don't have the glasses near my bed, and then by the time I get into bed, I'm so tired that I read 3 pages and I fall asleep.
Exactly.
So I do an awful lot of audiobooks, but I really I was such a fast reader. And I'm just not a great reader anymore unless I'm listening, and I really want to get back. I miss the feeling of picking up that book and being able to focus the way I used to be able to focus.
I know what you mean.
That's one of my goals.
Even when I pick up a book, sometimes I find myself just like going over the same lines over and over again. I'm like, I didn't absorb these at all. Why? That is strange.
Selene and I were going to talk about books today, and I said to her, this is my favorite book, but I can't tell you what it's about. This is my favorite book, but I can't, I love this book so much.
Because we remember the feelings that it gives us and everything, but we don't remember every detail, because actually don't get me wrong, plot's important, but it's kind of beside the point. What really matters is what a book gives you, like what stays behind. And it's never going to be, because, this ABC. It's going to be because of the characters. You fell in love with those characters, and you just were changed because of them. In some way, a book that we love changes us. It could be in many different ways, but it stays with us. And we're not carrying it because ABC happened. We're carrying it because we fell in love,
Yep.
So
with either the characters or the writing. Sometimes
both,
it's just
I think.
about...
I'm going to say I have to appreciate the writing to really love a book. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to the style of writing. I think because I demand it of myself, and I really like good writing. I'll stop reading a book, even if I find the characters okay. I will stop reading it because I'm like, just writing. But with one exception.
But I'll also have the experience where good writing isn't enough. It has to be writing that feels like they've done something. So I just read my friend Richard Martin's book. It's called, I'm going to tell you the proper name of it because it's actually a long name that I confuse sometimes. And I blurbed the book for him, but it is called I Inherited a Mixed Animal from Uncle Living in Woods by Richard Martin. The thing that hooked me with this manuscript, it was writing I had never seen before. He created a whole language. He like this kind of backwoods character. He created a whole town, a whole world that is both familiar and completely unfamiliar. He went with it.
Wow.
He was able to just like fully go with it. And I was like, wow, I couldn't do this.
That's tough. Yeah.
I couldn't do it, but I admired it so deeply. So sometimes for me, it's, and I'm sure for you, it's not just about a beautiful sentence, but about the ability to create something that I could only strive
true. Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. No, of course, the two things go hand in hand, but that sounds like a really good book. Wow.
Yeah, it's like almost like Ibsen or like Theater of the Absurd from, that. Yeah,
that's
really,
amazing.
really good.
Do you know Ibsen's dying words?
No.
You made me think of it. He had a nurse. He was very sick, and a nurse came in and said, "Oh, you look like you're doing better." And he said, "On the contrary." And he died.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, I learned that. I was reading Looking for Alaska, and the character in that book, that's what he does. He like learns people's, like he's into.
Am I having a deja vu that you've talked about this, or am I just remembering it from when I read Looking for Alaska?
I don't know, but I probably told you that I stopped reading it because it kept saying before, and I'm like, when will it be after? Like, see, that drove me insane, and I couldn't read it anymore. But but I did.
I love John Green. I don't always love his books.
Yeah, but I just couldn't handle it anymore. But I did like learning the last lines of people, like Kennedy said. John Kennedy, right before he got shot, the crowd was cheering. I mean, this is all paraphrasing. I don't know the exact words, but the crowd's cheering. So I think it was the governor, whoever was sitting in the car, also said, "Wow, the people of Dallas love you, Mr. President." And he said, "That's obvious." And then dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic, last words of people. Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah.
I wonder if you know that it's going to be your last words. And
I don't
you
think
strategically
so. No, he didn't
decide.
Know. He didn't know
I've done that.
Die.
I've done that with Facebook. Not that I think I'm going to die, but I've done like, I'm going to put this post up and it's going to be my last post. That will be the last. And sometimes it's like something profound, but sometimes it's like something really dumb.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, wouldn't that be funny if that's just the last post I ever made? This dumb thing.
Yeah, I don't never really think about it for myself. That's funny. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know what I think maybe we should all plan what someone should post about us. That would be a good one. Right? F you all. I've had enough. Look, I'm being clean on my podcast.
I've heard you guys use language. I thought I was going to today, but we were tame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't censor it. Well, Pascal really likes to curse. I'm not going to lie. I do too. I mean, sometimes
I do too.
Yeah. Well, next time we're going to make a point of it. We're going to curse. That's it.
We'll curse more next time.
We're going to have to drink or something.
I hope I bring some new people to your podcast because I really have found it to be like a comfort food.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So, I think that sometimes I understand why people just want to watch someone else sleep, not literally, but metaphorically. I brought us right around to the beginning.
We were talking in the beginning how there's people that get paid to be watched while they sleep.
Yes.
And paid well.
Yes, if you're just joining us, that was the reference that you had heard it on Howard Stern, right?
Yes,
that people get paid. But I think that in a world that feels too big and unmanageable, sometimes there's just comfort that comes from listening to two people chat authentically.
Yes.
And I have really gotten that so much from listening to your podcast. Sometimes it's nostalgic, sometimes it's about news stories, but it's just always ultimately two human beings chatting about being human. And I have taken a real lot of comfort from it. So
thank you so
I'm
much.
Really honored that I got to be on it.
That really is that means the world to me because that's how I feel about Howard Stern. I know people have their opinions about him, but to me, he's an honest person speaking with Robin, his co-host, and
right.
That's my comfort. Right after the hurricane and my house was destroyed, I was sitting in relative's little room. I was sharing a bed with my ex-husband. I've been divorced for many years, sharing a room with him and my son Casey, and I had the boom box or something, and I was just Oh, it was a serious, it was a serious radio. You had to buy them, and I was just clinging to the radio, waiting for Howard to come on because he's the only person that I felt that could comfort me. And he did, and all my life, well, not all my life, but I started listening to him when I was a teenager. He was that thing. So it's so wonderful that I'm doing for you what's been done for me. And I do think, I didn't go to school for broadcasting, and I'm certainly not acting like I'm professional at all, but I did everything I do, I kind of learned from him, which is just the art of being real. The thing about him is I trust him to be real, and he says things that often I don't agree, but it doesn't matter if I agree. Matters is that I know he's giving his real opinion. And in these days, there's not a lot of that, truth is hard to come by,
Yeah.
So, so I love them. Yeah. And so thank you so much. And remember I told you about the podcast and you were like, because you were like, I don't like these. And every time you would,
no, you say that, but what I said is I don't listen to podcasts much, and it's the truth. I don't.
Well, no, but you were right. But you were, because you mentioned, I'm not going to say the names of them, but you mentioned podcasts that you don't like. And you would say the name and I'm like, oh, that. And you were like, and everything I was like foo-fooing. And you were like, well, maybe I will like yours then,
Yeah.
Like, just try it.
Yes. And I did, and then I was hooked, and then I listened to them, and then I heard my name called out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm famous because I'm on Selene's podcast.
Absolutely. You don't get more famous than that.
Certainly not from my books.
Oh, stop. No, you're a little self-deprecating about yourself. Well, obviously.
No, I'm not, but but it's because
your books really, they hit hearts. Okay. And
thank you.
You know what? The thing about books is they never expire. So our books can be read. It doesn't matter. They're new to the reader. I don't understand this concept of a new release. Like that's when you read it, because you could read it 10 years, 20 years from now. What's the difference? It's new to you. Right. So our books are out there, and they will always have chances to be read by new hearts. And I just want you to know how much your books are in my heart. Like sometimes in very devastating ways, but that was Summer of Letting Go particularly. But they're honest books. You can tell when you're reading something. It's funny because it's fiction, but it's the truth. Like fiction just gives deep truths about humanity, and it's like sometimes it's like being shot with an arrow. You know what I mean? Like, but like it gets you and it changes you, and your writing is stunning.
Thank you. It's a mutual admiration.
Thank you.
Society.
But so I'm just so glad I took that. I just had the audacity I just like cold called you on Facebook, like, hello, let's be friends. But sometimes you have a feeling. There's been a few times in my life when I've just had the feeling like I think this person and I would and should be friends, but it doesn't happen a lot. But it's interesting. And you have been a great friend, so thank you.
Thank you. I sometimes not a good enough friend. How can you be a good enough friend to someone who's been through
just by being there?
Yeah.
I remember I fell into your arms at the funeral.
Yeah.
I will just say when you see the thing leaving, and then you're like, that happened to me with my boyfriend too. When he died, it was like they were both cremated, and it's like, that's it. I will say about cremation that I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it's very funny. They had him on Howard Stern he was answering questions to the Whack Pack, which are these crazy people on Howard, so someone said, like, what happens to you when you die, to your body when you die? And he goes, well, if you're cremated, then your energy goes into the universe. And it sounded so great. Like the way it was more than that, but I was so glad that I had Casey cremated, because like that sounds so beautiful to me. Like he's a part of the, and then, he said something else about it's fine if there's another thing that happens. So I guess your body, you go in with the earth or something, but he said it much more scientifically. But I was really glad I made that choice, because again, making those choices when you're faced in that devastation is really kind of impossible, but we did that. And so I was really glad, because I love the idea of him, his energy, but meanwhile, let's face facts. Energy never dies. I mean, and This is the good
Have
news.
you ever read Aaron Freeman's "You Want a Physicist to speak at your funeral"? I think it's called "You Want a Physicist to speak at your funeral."
No.
When you put clips of this up, or when I'm ready to share the link to this podcast, I'm gonna also put up a screenshot of his. I think it's probably the number one piece of reading I've done. It's not long to make me feel more hopeful in the face of loss and death. And as I was saying that, I also recently saw a quote from Selene. What if we just stay here for like 24 hours and see how many people stick with us through the end? We're just never, people are like, phew, the podcast is over. I can go. And we're just talking about something new.
You know,
but I want to,
people can listen in pieces. They don't, it's okay. It'll be fun.
But so Jeremy Renner, the actor who had like this really catastrophic accident, like he was run over by a multi-ton. So recently I saw a quote from him. Somebody was asking him because he apparently died and then was brought back, and he remembers dying.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And his answer was, "I was so pissed when they brought me back."
Yeah. I've heard that.
So, which is not encouragement to die. Right. It's just to say that
this is not the end, and which is,
he found such peace wherever he was, and he was in so much pain, and he must not have felt pain because that was his quote. His quote was, "I was really pissed when they brought me back."
I hadn't heard that, but I'm not surprised because you hear that kind of stuff. I know, I communicate with Casey. Obviously, he exists somewhere, but if you think about it, energy never dies, right?
Right.
So of course, we still exist. So these bodies will be gone. So what? Right.
Right.
There goes all the sins of vanity and everything else, all out the window. Right.
Yay!
Who needs any of that? But and honestly, I've said this before, but that there's that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did you see that?
I did not see it, but
you should see it. It's crazy. Yeah. It's really odd, but I was shocked that Casey told me that he loved it. He watched it twice. And I couldn't even believe he sat through it once, because I watched it because after he died, I watched it because I obviously wanted to know. Because he said, "I loved it, and I'm so glad I watched it because now I understand how everything works." And he had this thing where he knew that he wasn't going to be, like, he just knew. And toward the end, I kind of knew too. But so that movie really does, because everything is all at once. It's like, that, what is that called? The quantum physics and all that. But so like, it's just it's a crazy movie. I don't know, some of the choices, like, I don't know why you did that, but the idea that you always wind up with the people that you're meant to be with in the universe. I know it's true. He's promised me I'm going to be with him. I'm with him now, but I want to be with him like eternally.
So in that same Jeremy Renner thing that went through my feed that day, there was also a headline, but I remember it being from a reputable source and I saved it somewhere. I'll try to find it for you. But they said that science is catching up with the metaphysical, and one of the things that they're learning scientifically through people who have passed and then come back is that we do actually reconnect with loved ones and they're saying, but now they're saying scientifically, like metaphysical people always were saying that.
Yeah. I mean, that I love. My friend Aurel, her husband, is quantum physicist, and I asked him to explain to me. I really wanted to know, if everything is happening all at once, why are we aware of this, right? And he explained it, but I'll be damned if I can understand anything he said.
Right.
What are you going to do? But anyway, so I guess we'll wrap up. We'll I mean, we do have to sleep eventually. I just got the stuff called creatine. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Well, I know that people talked about it for muscles and all that stuff, muscle building, but that's not my jam at all.
Right.
Now,
bodybuilders.
There's news about it working on your brain. Really great stuff. Like, I'm going to report back about this. I just got it.
Okay.
Because I have this new therapist who's very brain chemistry oriented. Okay. He's got me taking something for sadness. I can't even remember what I take. But this new thing, creatine, is supposed to make your brain function better. everybody reports back that they are able to function at a much higher level and like not be distracted. And it helps them sleep and they just feel more rested. So I just got the shipment. I'm going to take my first dose and I'm very excited because my sleep does get like disturbed. You know, I wake up, I go to sleep okay, but then I wake up. So I'm hoping, well, you know what I mean? Like before I'm supposed to. Then I wake up. Damn it, I'm always waking up. I hate that. You know,
kind of like Groundhog Day.
That's right. It's a, but so that's the new thing, creatine. I'm going to report back on that one. And,
okay.
And I'm very excited because I believe in all. I love. You made me think of it with the science because I think metaphysics and science are not incompatible. It's just that scientists maybe they feel threatened or something. I don't really know, but I'm really glad that all this stuff. I'm perfectly willing to accept both sides of everything, you know, but yeah.
Well, maybe it's also because scientists tend to want empirical evidence. And
right.
So it takes a while I would want that too
Sure.
in some ways. And which is why the Jeremy Renner quote resonates with me so much because it actually happened to him.
Right.
So
well, but when I do the sticks with Casey, right, people can see that it's happening, right? But people say to me, they believe it happened, but they're like, that is not your son. That is an evil spirit. I'm like, why would you say that? Like, why would you? Why? I mean, and they're always very religious people. Like in the hospital, the nurse was really getting on my nerves. She kept talking about God and this and that. I'm like, let me just I want to take out my sticks, talk to my son. She looks at me and goes, you're a witch. You're a witch. I'm like, good thing we're not in Salem. And then I drove her out, which was my goal, right? But so she's all religious. But why does she believe what they tell her in church without even any evidence? But me, I'm showing her something. Why? Like, I don't get that. Like, so I get it all the time. Like people, some people are just like, well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but that is an evil spirit. You know, some people just like freak out on me that I'm like Satan or something, you know, like it's very strange. But all I'm doing is something that it's evidence. It's happening. Something's happening there. I'm not doing it. Am I magic? No. So interesting.
Yes, you're magic.
Well, that's another story, but I am.
But a good kind of magic.
Thank you. I'm a witch. I'm a good witch. So, all right. Well, I will let you go. Well, we could still do our quotes, even though we didn't talk about it.
I did bring quotes, but they're book-related quotes.
Well,
but maybe some of them will apply.
Yeah.
Selene and I just went off the rails, but it was so much fun.
That's what we do here. It's fine. And then we'll do another episode where we'll start out with the other books. You know?
Okay. So one of my favorite books I ever read is A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan, won the Pulitzer. Very slim little book, fantastic. And it's really just a book about time passing and how people change and where we find the kernels of who we used to be and where we don't. But the quote also, I think, has a lot to do with everything we ended up talking about. It's very simple, and it says, time's a goon, right? You going to let that goon push you around?
That's good.
Love that.
Yeah, that's really good.
And here's one from another one of my favorite books ever and one of my favorite authors. I've read, I think, everything he's ever written with the exception of maybe one or two books that were scary. And that's William Goldman, who wrote The Princess Bride. But I've read, people don't know the amount of books he's read.
Really?
Written, sorry. And he was always one of the writers that inspired me to write.
Oh, wow.
But this is from The Princess Bride, which so many people love. Did you guys talk about The Princess Bride on here? No. Okay, so the quote is, life isn't fair. It's just fairer than death. That's all.
That's good.
It's great, right?
That's very good.
And then the other one also from The Princess Bride, I can even see the scene in my head. I'll leave you with this one. We'll never survive. Nonsense. You're only saying that because no one ever has.
That's great. Excellent. Excellent. Well, I have only one from George Orwell, and he said, good writing is like a window pane. And I like that because once I was talking to an editor and we were having a disagreement about what we want the reader to see when they read. And I said, well, I think of the reader as being in a car and they can look out whatever window they want. And he said, no, I want to tell them what window to look out. And I don't agree with that at all. I wanted.
And it doesn't matter because the reader will take what the reader takes, so you have no control over it anyway.
This is not my editor, Carolyn. This is a different editor. Yeah, he's a bit of a control freak, I guess. But yeah, so that's what I like to do. I just like to show a view, and people can look at whichever way. So, but
I love that.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being with me. And we're destined to have our part 2, and I'm excited already. And this has been a really lot of fun. So let's just say goodbye officially on the recording. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye officially.
Thank you for listening, guys. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Lowe's knows you've got a job to do, and we help get it done. With the MyLowe's Pro Rewards program, eligible members save more with volume discounts on qualifying orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer can't be combined with any other discount, contract, and/or special pricing. Exclusions, more terms, and restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.